Tinubu speaking yesterday at the government house in Makurdi, reminding the governor of the state, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, that he was elected under the progressive banner, not to bury people, but to be able to govern and come up with projects so that his next visit would see more commissioning other than offering condolence visits. Other high points of the event were the co-opting of ex-governors, traditional rulers, and well-meaning individuals in Benue State into a committee to find lasting solutions to the ongoing crisis in the state. Well, this morning, joining us virtually from Benue is the technical media advisor to the Benue State Governor, Mr. Solomon Iorpev. Good morning to you, Mr. Solomon, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I can hear you, although very faintly, but I think I can hear you.
Hopefully the audio gets better in the course of our conversation. I'll start by offering my condolences, as much as I'm affected as well, but officially from ADBN Television, we also extend our most heartfelt condolences to the people of Benue.
Thank you very much. We're actually devastated here in Benue State. Everybody's in a state of mourning, including my governor and everyone else. It's a very difficult time for us as a people. Thank you for your condolence.
Now let's pick up the conversation from some of the requests made by the governor of the state following the president's visit. He talked about the need to institute state police in the state and set up an intervention fund for victims of the killings that have been ongoing since the start of the year. Talking about the practicability of the intervention fund, are there any blueprints on ground as to what the victims stand to benefit as relief materials or a startup to get their livelihoods back on track?
As I told you, this is quite faint. I heard something about intervention fund or something, I don't know.
That's correct.
Can I go again?
That's correct. On the intervention funds, is there a blueprint on ground for how the victims would be able to get the benefits as due?
Well, if I hear you correctly, though, you're talking about intervention for things that are needed to take care of those in the IDP camps.
Yes,
the
please.
victims of the massacre and the latest attacks in the water. If that's what you're talking.
That's correct, sir.
Yes. Let me paint a little picture for you. This is an attack that was carried out on people in their sleep. This is an attack that was carried out in a community that was not expecting anything of that sort. This is an attack where more than 300 people were killed. About 151 of them that were physically seen, and more than about several other people burnt to ashes beyond recognition, except for families who were complaining about their loved ones being missing. That's why we now begin to put one-on-one together. None of these may have been part of the people that were burned to ashes. Quite devastating and horrible situation. Very horrible situation. And so His Excellency felt there was a need actually to intervene in the lives of these people, especially the victims. Some of them are hospitalized, as we talked about. When the President came in yesterday, he first stopped at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, and he spoke with the victims who were hospitalized. And then before he came for the town hall meeting after the closed his office. And so a need to intervene for them is very important, very necessary. Both some of those details I may not be able to put them out to you for now. It's something that is in progress and something that is ongoing. But in the immediate needs of these people are being taken for as I speak with you, and it's going to be much more as time goes on. I will begin to unveil and reveal as time progresses.
Now, talking about the visit in itself, much like you highlighted, the president visited the hospital first before the town hall, but didn't get to Yelwata. But we're aware that his media aides and Mr. Sunday Dare and Mr. Bayo Nanuga went all the way to Yelwata. Can you give us more clarification as to the purpose of their on-the-site visit to the victim of this dastardly act?
Right. Now, the itinerary of the president when he was coming that was sent to us He was, first of all, after landing at the NAF base, he was to take a chopper to in the water, the area of the incident. But when he landed, the weather conditions, beginning in the morning of yesterday, there were heavy rains. It was a cloudy environment we had here. And so the weather was not clear enough for him to fly. And so he was advised against it. And so, and that's the reason why he couldn't go to Yellow Water. But instead of going to Yellow Water, he stopped at the teaching hospital, where I told you he commiserated with the people and then condoled with them and then said a few words to them and made some promises to them, of course, particularly to end the crisis so it doesn't happen. And so that's the reason why he didn't go to Yellow Water. But his aides were there in anticipation, hoping. So, in fact, our commissioners, most of them were there, apart from those who went to welcome the president, because we had thought that was actually going to happen until the weather report was given and he was advised. And he's under obligation to take advice from those around him as far as the weather conditions are concerned. We didn't want any other incident to happen outside of what we're already going through. And so that's the reason why he didn't go to your water yesterday. If that has answered the question.
Yes, please. Now, I'm talking about the people of Benue State, because we've seen mixed reactions to the visit of the president. There were some persons who were mourning in a procession along the streets of Makurdi. Others were involved in sort of tearing down posters. It was part of the reports that it was supposed to be more of a mournful progression, but there were some statements issued talking about colorful shoulder-to-shoulder parades. I don't know if you care to set the record straight as to how the people of Benue State were supposed to receive the president.
Now, let me tell you about this. I don't know if you're a politician or not, but there are certain things you must understand about politics. It's not everyone who is on your side. Like the president himself said yesterday, that he himself is hated by many and the insult, and he used the word I may not be able to share with you, but the insult, the living ache out of him. You know, whatever action he takes is not good enough. Whatever decision he makes is not good enough. The coming of the president to Benue State was a sign of relief. It was a sign of relief for all of us. We felt he has given us attention. And who will not be happy that the president of the country is giving them attention in a situation where they're going through a lot of trauma? A horrible thing like that has happened and the president of the country has come to condole with you. The least you can do is get excited. It's like a child that is crying and the father has come to tell him, sorry, please don't cry. No matter how bad you feel, there's this moment of excitement in your heart. And I can tell you that this is one of the reasons why you saw lots of those posters and those arrangements that you saw. Most of them, I can assure you, 200% did not come from the state government. These are party supporters who are excited that the president is coming to Benue State. And of course, he's the president of Nigeria. He's a member of your party. They have a right to celebrate him. All right, so it is coming whatever conditions under which he is coming. They must celebrate him. You can't tell your father you are not welcome just because you're crying. You're crying, of course, things have happened. It's really bad enough. We're mourning. But of course, you have taken out time to come. The least you can do is give him a hug and say, welcome. Thank you for coming to identify with me at this trying time. And I'm thinking, I drove around the town myself, and most of the billboards are welcoming Mr. President and telling him, they were talking about thanking him for identifying with us at this very trying moment in our time. Nobody was talking politics. Nobody was talking politics. Some of the billboards you saw have existed before now because, believe it or not, this is the second year we have entered into the campaign year already. All right? Things are happening. It's not just here. It's across the country. Posters are everywhere. Billboards are everywhere. It's not just about yesterday. So if people are just pointing to the fact that, they want to bring those ones out because the president came yesterday, they're only being mischievous. Some of these posters have been there a long time. Billboards and the flyers. Now, if they were tearing down, of course, not everybody would be in agreement with the other. Some are not happy that this is happening. That the president even came to Benue, I can tell you that there are some people who are not happy that he came. He would have ignored it. I don't know whether you listen to the live broadcast. But the Toti made a statement to the president. That's the chairman of the Chief Traditional Council and the Benue State Traditional Council. He said that some people, some politicians, are praying and hoping that this massacre will continue so that a state of emergency will be declared in Benue State. These are not my words. These are words of the Toti. That means even the traditional rulers are noticing what some sections of the politicians are doing. And if this group of people decide to sabotage, to make sure that the vision that the president is not seen in good light, it's the same thing we're talking about here. They're just to make sure that whatever the state governor does is not good enough so that a state of emergency can be declared in Benue. They just want to get rid of him. But that's not fair. How do you plan and orchestrate and be a part of naming and killings and all of that just because you want to make a very cheap, a ridiculously cheap political point? It doesn't call for it. These are the lives of people. These are the lives of your people. You should care about them. So, like the Toti said yesterday, any politician who is involved in that should be ashamed of themselves. It's not the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do.
Now, Mr. Solomon, let's come to the Toti's speech yesterday. He's the chairman of the Traditional Rulers Council and the paramount ruler of the Tea people in Benue. His statement was on the fact that the situation in Benue has been misrepresented. He called it a calculated genocide, an invasion targeted at land grabbing. He says using solutions like finding dialogue or finding ways to live at peace with your neighbor would not solve the issue, while harping on the fact that the patience of the Benue people does not show weakness. Listening to that speech, what can you deduce in terms of the true way to end the killings in Benue?
I can tell you for sure that the Toti spoke from the heart of a father who is crying. And these things are persisted over time, and he's actually really worried. Let me give you a little background if you have the time. The situation we had here about 20, while we were kids growing up, the situation we had was a situation where the herders came in here with their cows once in a while, and after the farmers have harvested their crops, they fed on the remnants, whatever was left. They were very friendly, carrying around sticks and machetes and all of that to protect their herds. And then it graduated into a situation where some few years ago, we now started noticing them with AK-47s and all of that. It became quite disturbing. And the situation where the Toti was talking about is no longer the situation we're in now. It's no longer a farmer-herder clash. A farmer-herder clash is when the cows, for instance, have eaten the crops of a farmer.
You have 1 minute remaining.
But a situation where people are sleeping in their houses, vulnerable, without weapons, without anything, and then you come to attack them in their sleep when they are not expecting you, that is not a clash. That is a plan to annihilate the people. That is a plan to kill them and wipe them and grab their land. Not because they feel their cows are having a good season here. They are enjoying the crops that are here, and so they should just destroy the people and take over the land. That's the point the team was making. These people they come in without cows. This will be the last crop of people we're talking about that my governor has been talking about over and over again. They come in their numbers on motorbikes, 300 of them, with weapons. That's not a class.
Your call credit has been exhausted.
Well, we must thank Mr. Solomon Iorpev for setting the tone for this conversation. He's had on the essence of the visit of the president, addressed gray areas and misconceptions about the president not going all the way to Yelwata, citing weather conditions, and it was not favorable for his chopper to do so, noting that his media aides in Sunday Dare and Mr. Bayo Nanuga, however, visited Yelwata in person. He talked about the statement made by the paramount ruler of the Tea people in Benue, the Totiv, as he harped on the need for a concerted efforts devoid of party affiliations to addressing the situation in Benue, not with the hope that it deteriorates and the fact that the state is made ungovernable for the governor, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia. We appreciate him. Now, coming back to our studio, we have a security strategist and analyst. Dr. Steve Okore is in our studio this morning. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning.
Now, Doctor, I haven't listened to first-hand information from those on ground in Benue. First off is the misconception that it had been a farmer-herders clash. It's now talked about the fact that this is an onslaught invasion by marauding invaders wielding AK-47s and other sophisticated weapons.
Yeah.
How much of a humanitarian crisis is on our hands as we speak?
Unfortunately, we have found ourselves in another barbaric act by these terrorists. I call them terrorists because these are acts of terrorism, right? You can't go to a community and kill up to 200 or more. This is pure terrorist act, right? And we must have to accept that this is a terrorist act. We shouldn't continue to give them some kind of soft landing. People have different narratives that farmers, herders clash. Just keep misinforming the people. I'm happy the TOTIV came out there and tell the Mr. President that this is a true picture and all that. And you see, before this Saturday, Benue had like 14 IDP camps, right? When the governor came, he was talking about reducing the number of IDP camps. But with what has happened now, it means IDP camps will increase, and of course, you're aware that the coming on board of Trump, some humanitarian
suspending some humanitarian interventions.
Yeah, so you can't get all that you used to get before, and it will put the state on a very high level of trying to see that the source for funds, more funds to be able to take care of all this. But the point now is, each time I find myself in studios like yours, I always go for solution, because the issues, the challenges are no longer new, right? This is something that has been happening in the last 15 years or more, right? And my worry is that each time we go for such intervention, it is the same approach, the same condolence visits. Top military, police, government functionaries pay condolence visits and all that. And at the end of the day, they retreat, they go back to their various offices and they continue what they are doing. And the next time these attacks come and they happen again. So what is it that we are doing as government, as security agencies, that we should not continue to do like that? Let us do something different, right, to see that these issues are addressed or tackled or combated. And for me, I want to ask Mr. President, he's been to Benue. He's back. He came back yesterday. What is Mr. President waiting for? Do you know why? If I see Mr. President today, right now, I'll ask him, Mr. President, what are you waiting for? Then he will say, I'm pretty sure that he will ask me that, what is it I want to tell him? I said, look, Mr. President, you have the solution right before you. The solution to the issues in addressing these violent attacks in our rural communities, the solution is before Mr. President's desk, as I speak with you. And do you know the solution?
What's the solution, please?
There's a bill before Mr. President. The bill has to do with establishing Nigeria Forest Security Service. That is the solution to these issues that we are talking about. Do you know what? Or do you know why that Nigeria Forest Security Service is the solution? We are talking about ineffective community policing here. We are talking about ineffective provision of intelligence, local intelligence. For the police, the military to function well, they need local intelligence, right? And without this local intelligence, they can't function. And that's why these attacks happen, these criminal elements come, kill people in their number, and they go scot-free. No arrest is made. Yesterday, Mr. President was asking the IGP and the CDS.
Why arrests have not been made?
Why arrests have not been made?
I have received information that Mr. Solomon Iorpev has reconnected, and talking about solutions, you have preferred one, citing the bill before Mr. President's table in terms of the Forest Commission bill. Many have talked about the institutionalization of the Ministry of Livestock. Now, back to Mr. Solomon Iorpev, who joins us from Makurdi again. Mr. Solomon, I don't know if the connection is much better and you can hear me.
In fact, I can hear you better than I'm hearing myself.
Perfect. Now let's get back to the conversations. A security analyst in the studio, Dr. Steve Okori, has preferred solutions, saying that a lot lies on the desk of Mr. President. In finding solutions, how much of this bulk lies on the president's table? Because the governor speaking had alluded to the fact that some of these issues are beyond the state's control.
I couldn't agree with your guest more. He has said the perfect thing. The bulk, we believe very strongly, lies with the federal government. Because I was telling someone today, earlier in an interview with the BBC particularly, I told them, you see, the state does not have control of security. For instance, my governor is the chief security officer of the state. Now, but it's only the number of officers, military, police, DSS, whatever, that have been deployed to the state from the federal government that he can put to use. That's number one. Then number two, even the putting to use, these people receive their last instructions from the federal government. So how am I the chief security officer without being in charge of the security under my control? That's not helpful. And that's the reason why my governor advocated for a state police. He said state policing is the way to go. Your guest was talking about intelligence. You need local intelligence. These are the people that tell you what is happening where. These are members of the community. They live with us. They breathe with us. They know the territories. They know the terrains. So they are the ones with the intelligence. And without that intelligence, you can't have security effective work. It can't work effectively. And so I agree with your guest about the forest security guards and all of that. We need to make security local. That is what we are talking about. And that lies on the desk of the president.
Now,
that cannot be done by the state individuals, by themselves. They can't do that.
Now, Mr. Solomon, on the issue of the communities affected, a lot of persons, much like myself, were worried that despite having a NAF base in Makurdi and certain military formations situated around the Guma local government area, for instance, why is it that the response time when there are distress calls like this is quite alarming?
Well, I must first of all say that my governor said time and again, we appreciate the efforts of the security that we have around here. But as I said earlier, these commands always come from the top, most often than not. My governor does not have the authority to ask someone to choose, for instance, to come out. He can only cry for help, and instructions can come from above. You know how the security architecture in Nigeria works. But part of the things that affect, let me give you an instance in Yellow Water about the reports we received. The governor was given an update of what happened. When they came this time around, they attacked, first of all, the military posts and the police posts in that area. Because this city, this village is by the roadside. So there's nothing they could have done without first. So they tried the officers there tried as much as possible to repel them. That is in that situation where we're talking about. But we also here in Benue State, we have a lot of federal roads. And unfortunately, some of these have been removed from the budget. It's painful enough that when you want to make a difference, for instance, in Naka, when you are taking Naka Road, for instance, to go on Naka Road, a distance of 5 minutes sometimes takes you 1 hour or 2 hours. So if an officer, for instance, from town wants to respond to what is happening in that village, it's going to take him a long time. And that's the reason why the governor has cried time again. The federal roads is working so hard on the state roads. But then the federal roads also need to be taken care of. It also affects response time. You know, the distances of these areas also matter. But on the whole, as we said earlier, the control of the security apparatus is not 100% in the hands of the chief security officer of the state. And that's going to make things very difficult. Very, very difficult, no matter what. When people talk, they talk about security votes and all of that. What can you do with security votes without control of the security forces? What can you do with it?
Quite an instructive question here, Mr. Solomon.
Because my governor, for instance, wait, let me tell you, my governor, for instance, has bought 100 Hilux trucks and given to security operatives. He has bought 600 motorbikes and given to security operatives. He has done all sorts of things in order to empower these people and make things easier for them. But what do you do when you don't have absolute 100% control of these security forces? That's why he advocated yesterday, and we are calling again, we need to make security local.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Solomon, in a bit. Let me come back to the professional in this field. Now, Dr. Steve Okorie has raised quite instructive questions. How much control does the state governor have under the current security architecture?
Yeah.
Quite recently, there was a dialogue on the security architecture. Members of the National Assembly, alongside other ministers, gathered. The Minister of Interior was very critical. He said our security architecture is a current joke, a caricature of what it's supposed to be. Now, this, in answering the questions raised by